Welcome back to finally finishing the Fiat Friday. That's a lot of F and Fs. Anyway, we're back to our 2018 Ram Promaster City. We're going to get it all done because I need a daily driver. So let's get started. So the painting gnomes were here, so now we can start putting our Promaster City all back together. We'll start by putting the back door together. We'll put the finish panel on. Just clips in on the outside. And there's two nuts on the inside. Now we can put the door panel on. Line it up. Use our door panel installation tool. Snap it all in. And I ordered a pizza. I didn't get a pizza, but I did get some help. So the pizza girl's here to help me put the door on. So we'll start with the bottom roller in the front. We'll get that all lined up. Then we'll do the top. Tighten them up. Now we can do the back. It's actually easier with one person. Just trying to explain to her exactly how much I needed to move it was harder than just doing it myself. So I moved it around, got the bolts started. Now we can tighten them up. Now we can hook up the latch cable, because once we close the door, if that's not hooked up, it makes it kind of complicated to get it open again. So we'll close it up, we'll adjust it if we need to. Of course, if I adjust it too much, the gaps are all going to be right, and somebody's going to know I've been here before. Because from the factory, these gaps are horrible. So after we adjusted our door, got that all fitting right, we're going to put our rear bumper on. Plug in our parking sensors. We'll slide the bumper up into place. Needs to go over the reinforcement, but around the doors. Slide it in there. Clip it into the tabs on the quarter. Then we can put our hidden bolts in underneath the taillights. Now we can put the bolts in across the top that are underneath the sill plate. Got those all in there. Put our socket back on that the car wanted to keep. Now we can install our taillights with our less than convenient plugs. Slide the taillight in and then clip it into the quarter. We can open the door all the way. We can put the screws in our taillight. Start each one. And we'll tighten them down. Click. 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 I'll put our taillight in our right side. Seriously, Fiat. Another 3 inches of wire wouldn't have killed you. We'll snap our taillight into the quarter. Open our door up all the way. And put our screws in. Click. Click.
Click. Now you can put the rest of the bolts in the bottom of the bumper. Our Bluetooth ABS sensor here seems to be throwing some codes, so we're going to change it with the old-fashioned wire that completes the circuit. So we'll take off the remainder here, just unclip it. And we got a pigtail that we cut off of our parts van. So we'll snap it back in, clip it in the frame rail, and route it up inside the wheel well where it goes. We have to push the grommet all the way through and then pull it back out. It's tapered because it's meant to go in from the inside out. Since we put it in backwards, got to pull the grommet out the other way, or it's a pain to get in there. So now we'll splice our wires in. We'll strip the wires and put our heat shrink butt connectors on there. So we have a heat shrink joint and it's inside the vehicle. It's a lot better than if I were to do this outside the vehicle. Should make sure that it doesn't corrode. Now we can heat up the terminals and shrink them with our torch that we borrowed from our neighbor. He was making creme brulee. So now we can clip our wiring harness back into the quarter. And we'll just tuck the wires down inside. And now it's time to put our cavity wax down in the bottom. Keep all of our welds from rusting out and any bare metal that might be there from the shrapnel that had been tearing up the inside of the quarter panel. Get a nice coating in there. Might be the only part of the van that doesn't rot out. Put our little panel back up. Put the push pins in. Never speak of this mess again. There's some plastic retainers that go in the quarter. We pull those out so we can paint it. We'll pop those back in. Then we can put our sill plate back in. We'll slide it underneath the edge of the cage. Better than taking that cage out. Line it up with our little screw holes. And we can start putting in the 500 screws that hold this little sill plate in. More screws than hold the entire subframe into this vehicle. I can only imagine that the engineer had a brother-in-law that owned a fastener factory and needed to make some sales. Why else would you have 20 screws in this little plastic piece? Now we can change our shock. It's a little tore up from the tire, and the bottom of it is actually worn smooth from dragging on the ground. So we have one off of our parts truck. Ordinarily, I don't use used shocks. It's got 13,000 miles on it. It'll be fine. Click. Click. Now we can run our screws up that are on the end of the bumper before we put our wheel liner in. And now we can put our wheel liner in. Snap it in place. Tuck it inside the bumper cover. So now you put the plastic nuts on there. Remember, don't tighten those with an impact because nobody wants melted nuts. Then we'll run our screws in the bumper. Then we tighten up the bolt that goes in the bumper on the driver's side. And tuck the wheel liner back underneath the bumper cover. Start our screws by hand. Now we'll run them in there. Tire's in the way of this one, so we'll do it with the ratchet. Now we can change our mutilated brake line. I have a used brake line off the parts car, so we're going to use that. It beats bending a new one. Our used one has the bends in all the right places, and if I can get it in there before I lose my patience, that's all the bends it'll have. If I lose my patience before I get it in there, it might have a few extra bends. So now we gotta do the brake line hokey pokey, get this thing out of here. It goes around the control arm, under the brake cable. It's not as simple as just slapping it in there.
Wow.
So we'll get our new one in there. See if I can remember how I took the old one out. It was only 30 seconds ago. We made it. No extra bends, patience still intact. So we'll thread our ends in there, tighten them up, and we'll go find the roaming gnome to help us bleed the brakes.
It's brake job time. I got the update. Changes the calipers too. It's time to change our tires. Well, that was embarrassing. See if they go on just as easy. I don't know why people waste money on those silly tire machines. It's so much easier. And if you get really good at this trick, it even balances itself.
So now we can do our oil change. Drain the oil. It's pretty dirty. Now we'll spin our filter off. Didn't even get any oil on me. Clean off the filter mount. Make sure there's no double gasket up there. Then we'll spin a new filter on. Tighten it down to manufacturer specs. And we'll put the oil plug in.
Alright, let's make sure we got that drain plug on nice and tight. That'll do it. Now we're going to put the oil back in. Did have that one comment that said that I didn't put any oil in it, and it really concerned somebody.
So the reason I never put any oil in it the last time is I never drained the oil out of it when I took the engine out of the parts car. So it had the original oil and filter. Now, is that good for long term? No, but it's enough to start the car, drive it around, make sure the engine's okay. Is it going to hurt to run it for a few minutes with the old oil in it? No. So I left it in there, and we're going to change it now. There's a reason you didn't see it. It wasn't done. Also, if you assume that everything you see in the video is everything I've done to the vehicle, I got bad news for you, buddy. Now you can put all our nameplates on the back door. The Ram name just goes right above the Promaster name. The outsides of the letters are on the outside of the nameplate underneath it. So that's why I put the R and the MN first. And then we just center the A in between the R and the M. No templates needed for this one. Chances are, if I do sell it, someone's probably going to pull this off to put a wrap on it anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Now we're going to change out our door panel that somebody ate. So we'll pull the little caps off underneath the door handles. Pull our mirror switch out. Now you get to the bolts that are underneath the door handles. A couple bolts in the back. We'll pull out our grab handle, window switches, and door handle assembly. Disconnect the cable for the door handle. And disconnect the window switch. There's one hidden bolt inside there. Pull that out. And now we can tear our door panel off. Now we'll put our new door panel on. That was freshly cleaned, just to satisfy the clean freaks. So we'll snap the door panel in. Make sure our little plastic tabs are lined up before we start smashing them in there. Bolt in our door panel. We can clip in the cable to our handle. Plug in our window switches. No, those are still dirty. Sorry, clean freaks. The detail guy's going to get all this later. Snap that whole assembly down in there. Put our screws in it. Yes, I did have to use the excessively long extension for this. So now we can put our caps back on there. Put our mirror switch back in. And test out our door lock and latch and handle. Make sure it all works. Because on this, the door handle is also the door lock switch. So after driving it for a couple weeks, left it for a few days, and the battery went dead. So it doesn't hold a charge for very long, so we're going to change it out. Pull our negative battery cable out. On both the positive cable, set it off to the side. Pull our battery seat belt out of there, and we can pull our battery out. Got our new battery. Put its little battery blanket on there. This must be that cold weather package they charged extra for. So we'll drop the new battery down in there. Put its little seatbelt back on. Bolt it down. And pull little plastic caps off. And put our positive terminal back on. Tighten it up. The ratcheting end wouldn't fit because I pushed it too far down the terminal. So we'll just use the open-ended side. Push the little clip on that holds it into place, and we'll put the cap on. Pull a little cap off the negative battery terminal, and we'll put our terminal clamp on there. It won't fit, so we're going to open it up a little bit with a screwdriver, get it to slide all the way down in there, and then we'll tighten it down. We'll snap our negative cable back down on the terminal, and our battery's installed. So our Promaster has been fully detailed, and I've been driving it for a little while. Now, make fun of me all you want, but I actually like this little car. It gets decent gas mileage, and having all that space in the back has been really handy. I do transport parts all the time, so it's been very useful. And I wasn't joking. This is actually my daily driver. The afternoon crew is not real excited about that, but oh well. So I did sell the rack that was in the back. Leaves lots of room for me to throw parts in there. For those of you that are wondering what happened to the old engine, the radiator had a crack in it, and it must have leaked enough antifreeze that it started to overheat, and the driver drove it until it quit. By the time it quit, it had warped the head, and I assume it warped the engine block. At that point, it doesn't really matter. These engines are so cheap that it wasn't worth fixing once you pull the head apart. So I had the whole engine. I threw it in there. We're all good to go. But it was a good thing I had changed the radiator, basically because it was full of oil. But had it not been full of oil, I would have got this all back together and found out it had a leak anyway. So it looks like this build is done, but there's only one way to be absolutely sure this build is done. It's time for everyone's favorite game, What's in My Console? Oh, we have a bit of a problem here. 1 minute. Luckily, I came prepared. Seems the console's a little bigger than the car. 1 more minute. Oh, 1 minute. Safety first. In the pile. That'll work. Alright, so it's time for everyone's favorite game. What's in my console? So let's find out. Alright. Bolts. Let's see what else is in here. Mr. Spotty. Looks like he found his way out of the engine. Maybe he'll join us on the next build. Some clothespins. Ordinarily I'd throw these out the window, but with the price of lumber these days, this might be worth more than the vehicle itself. Better hang on to these. Keep finding this darn thing. One day I'll find a place for it. What else? See what happens when you don't throw things out the window? They start multiplying. Now I gotta find a place for 2 of these. Oh well. Well, that looks like it. I guess this build really is done. So, thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Now, if you want to know how much I paid for this car,
keep watching, and you'll find out what I had to go through to get it. And if you're interested in buying it, it'll be available on my website. But until then, it really is going to be my daily driver. So, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.
Sale pending.
Less than I won it for last week. Something tells me I'm not getting it this week either.
Sale pending.
High bidder 3 weeks in a
Sale
row.
pending.
Still won't get it.
Sale pending.
Okay, we'll try this again.
Sale pending.
I hit the button a couple times. Still not going to give it to me.
Sale pending.
I almost forgot. Found this at the very bottom of the console. Actually, I found it inside the quarter on the other side. This is what was punching the holes in all of our wheel opening. And this is the one that actually went all the way through the wheelhouse and into the quarter that made that dent. Why we had to pull the back door off. It's actually the old piece of the rim. Pretty sizable. Now, I don't know where the rest of it is. I assume there's other chunks like this that were flying off, so this could have done some serious damage to more than just the Promaster. Trophies.